Beautiful. Are we live?
We're live.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Blindsiders. I am today's host, Dylan, DJ Clubber Lang, soon to be member of the Dragon Slayer tribe. I'm joined by my longtime co-host, longtime friend, Brian. How are you feeling? We had a tough go of it last night for us big
Yes.
coach and Chrissy people.
Yeah. I mean, you drafted coach first overall.
Sure did.
So that was sad. I drafted Chrissy with my second pick. So I think the fourth overall. Bad night for us, Dylan.
So let's get out ahead of it first to the Brian Wongs of the world. We are missing our friend Ben tonight. Ben is currently dealing with the heat wave that took over New England and the Boston area the past 2 days. Ben's air conditioning unit in his apartment is broken, and I very much do not blame him for not wanting to hop in front of the lights, hop in front of the PC to discuss Survivor this week. He will be back next week, God willing. But today is a sad day to discuss coach. I think it's also a beautiful day to discuss coach. It's a sad day to talk about Chrissy and what could have been and our hopes and dreams. I do want to say right off the bat, I think last night's episode was fantastic. I think it was the best episode of the season. I think it was an interesting twist. And I think people are pretty much either there or on the complete other side where they completely hated it. What were your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to like it, but I actually think it's a great twist, and I didn't mind it. I don't know if it would work on a newbie season, but for a returning player season, I thought it was really cool.
I think it's a twist they can probably only maybe do one time, or at least one time where it is satisfactory like it was. I really appreciated the way it was able to cause players to have to scramble and very, very strategically kind of plan what they're going to do, which I feel like a lot of times when we get these twists is not always the case. With that said, I'd be fine never to see it again, but I don't mind it in this season. I think, like I said, it resulted in Coach and Chrissy going home, yes, especially for Coach for me. That is a tough blow. I think that I'm very grateful we still get Coach on the jury. That's nice that our time with Coach is not done yet. But it was you cannot go to the twist being the reason why Chrissy and Coach went home. I know that's kind of the joke that Chrissy has now been screwed over by two different twists that involved a man named Ben, which is funny. But I liked it. I really did. I liked it. I think it was, and I understand that people hate it and they say we just want our Survivor, just stop with the twists and all that stuff. I totally get that too, and I don't disagree. I think there is something to dislike about Suri being the one to get to kind of go away to exile and be able to come back. I understand the mixed reactions to that, but outside of Coach going home tonight, it did very much feel like this was Suri's the beginning of the full winter edit for Suri.
Yeah, the beginning of the coronation edit. Like, she seems to be on another level this season. Ozzy and Rizzo have the wrong plan because let's break it down. Aubrey and Devins are kind of open to working with Suri and Ozzy. You know, they've been on the same tribe with them before, and Rizzo's kind of in with that. Whereas Chrissy and Coach are probably the two main leaders of the opposing alliance. And I know that Devins and Aubrey are in technically a different like sub alliance than Ozzy, Suri, and Rizzo, but that sub alliance is way more aligned with them. So this was the right move as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I think I don't think that Aubrey and Devins are like completely not dangerous players. I think they're in a position now where pretty much the next 2 or 3 votes are going to decide how the rest of the game is going to go. Because if Suri and Rizzo, and I'm probably still going to lump Ozzy into that as a threesome alliance. I think if Suri, Rizzo, and Ozzy are able to get their way the next 2 weeks, I have a very, very, very hard time seeing an outcome that does not involve one of those 3 winning, especially Suri. So we really are in the crunch time. I feel this is where the season is going to kind of either make or break itself. And I think that Cirie winning is fantastic. It's fantastic for the story of Survivor. We talked about it all last week. Would probably for a large majority of the people put her on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor players. I think that is really not debatable that she's at least in the discussion if she wins. I don't think that is fair to debate at all. This is not a democracy as we've seen, but it is. I can understand if maybe she's sitting on the outside in some for whatever your reasoning would be. But I think that the struggle that is going to occur now between the dwindled down 3 factions that we've talked about before of we have the, I guess we'll call them kind of like the nerd alliance, if you will, of the Emily Devons, Christian, and I wouldn't fully put Aubrey in there, but Aubrey needs them, so I guess you can put Aubrey in there.
And then I think Aubrey's pretty square at this point.
Before I probably wouldn't have put her in there, but I think for sure she probably is now. And then we obviously have the other side too, which is the Honor and Integrity Alliance, which is really kind of exactly the plan that they wanted here. It has really kind of completely cut the head off the snake that was the Honor and Integrity Alliance. We have Joe, Jonathan, Stephanie. That's pretty much what's left there in terms of who's like officially kind of in that alliance, right? I would even potentially put Joe more on the outskirts at this point. Obviously, because he decided. I know. Obviously, Stephanie did too, but Joe decided to vote against Coach, which was very, very surprising. I think that at least buys him time. I think there's something to discuss here with Joe and Tiffany this episode too. Two players that actually did impress me. If Ben was here, I think Ben would be saying something different. But 2 players that actually did impress me. And then we obviously have the other side, the dominating alliance, the people that are actually running the game. We have, and I guess Tiffany is a floater. I'm not putting Tiffany in any one faction. Tiffany is kind of the official swing vote at this point. I think Tiffany has a chance of staying in this game for a little while longer than I actually thought. And then the other side, we have Cirie, Ozzy, Rizzo, who are running the game at this point. Where do you see this playing? Where do you see this going from here?
So I think maybe there's one more round of taking out either Joe, Stephanie, or Jonathan, but I think pretty soon it's going to become the nerds versus the what were they called? Riz God.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yes. The I'm going for now. I forget what it was. It was, but yes, the Cirie, Ozzy, Rizzo.
Cirie's Rizzo of Oz. Yeah, sure. Something like that.
That's our official name for it. We're gonna get murdered from that. Go ahead.
Well, I think like it's them versus the nerds, the 4 nerds with Jonathan, Steph, Tiffany, and Joe potentially in the middle. I wouldn't be surprised if next week we see one of those 4 go, but I think these are very smart players and they're looking at like, all right, I need to take out this opposing group first before they take us out, you know?
The one spot I disagree with you with is I think Devons or Aubrey probably have to be a target next week right off the bat. Especially if Cirie and Rizzo want to continue staying in the middle and being able to play both sides. I think naturally next week the next tribal, they have to tell Stephanie, Jonathan, Joe, hey, we got Coach and Chrissy out. We can work together. We need to take Devons out. He has an idol. And if we need to split the votes, then we need to go. Numbers wise, I don't think that would actually work, though, splitting the votes, right? But they could say, if we need to split the votes, we go Aubrey. That is where my head would be at. Cirie is a much better, much smarter player than I could ever be at Survivor, so I'm sure she is in a different place. But
yeah, something I like to do when I play in these LRGs or whatever, a strategy I called like you smash the alliance and then you pick up the pieces. And that it feels like this is a good spot for taking out like the 2 power players, probably the 2, no offense to Joe, Jonathan, and Steph, the 2 more strategically minded of that 5-person group, they're gone and the other players are ripe to be picked up,
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm kind of putting some faces to people right now, just so I can really fully kind of dissect the situation. Yeah, I mean, I had talked about in our group chat. I think that there still is a very, very small path forward for Jonathan to win this season. I think we're going to get into a lot of praise for Rizzo and Suri and even Ozzy. We can get into of kind of the position they're in for the rest of this game. I think Jonathan of that alliance. I would love for Steph too. Honestly, I would kind of lump Steph into this also, but I'm just not sure of what the view, and it really goes for both of them, what the view for them will be on whoever the final jurors are standing. Because I think if we get a Rizzo, Ozzy, Suri final three, which I kind of have a hard time imagining that happens. If we get to that and we have a jury that is pretty much all honor and integrity, and if we have, go back to a final four of Jonathan, Ozzy, Suri, Rizzo, naturally, one of them at that point is going to have to go after Suri or Rizzo, right? I think it's got to be, hopefully become clear to them at that point that Rizzo and Suri are dominating the game socially. And also Suri is obviously one of the most beloved players in the history of Survivor. She's loved on that island. We saw how everybody was flocking to her when she got back from exile. Like Mother is finally returning from the village. I am assuming that three cannot stick together long term. I feel like Suri would be the one to take out Ozzy, not the other way around, right? Unless we're getting into a unless we get into fire making, which is assuming in that point potentially Rizzo or Jonathan or Steph. Those are the three. Those are the people I'm rolling with at this point for whatever reason. They would put Suri into fire making. That would be the smartest choice. Suri wins fire making, the season's over. Suri somehow wins fire making, the season's over.
I think so. I think Ozzy is growing as a player for sure. I think this is the best version of Ozzy that we've ever seen.
I agree.
I don't know if he would cut Suri. I think if Suri wins this game, it's because Ozzy wins final immunity and brings her to the final. That's like what I'm kind of thinking would happen. Rizzo, on the other hand, I think definitely could betray Suri. Does he have any win equity? I'm not sure. And like Rizzo's 26 years old, but he reads younger, right? He reads like a 20-year-old. And I don't know if this group of players who are all like, other than him, probably 35 and up, if they necessarily respect Rizzo as much. You know what I mean? Tiffany might be like 35, but regardless, 30 and up. I don't know if they necessarily respect Rizzo enough. So I don't know if he necessarily has a path to win, but he has a great edit. So that's a little hard to, square as well.
I think you have kind of talked me into the opposite direction because I was so focused on Ozzy and Suri just not going to the end. I think what you just said,
it would be smart for Ozzy. I just don't know if he'll do it,
Would it be smart for Ozzy to, you're saying it would be smart for Ozzy to get rid of Suri? Yeah.
To cut her last moment and be like, I'm sorry, Suri. I love you. I want to win Survivor,
So I agree. You've talked me into that scenario now of, if we get down to that, Ozzy potentially putting himself against Suri, which I don't think people would respect on the jury, honestly, especially with the players that would be remaining left. I don't think that they would respect, hey, let's put ourselves against a well-known terrible fire maker. Let's see how we do. So that makes complete sense to me. I don't think Ozzy I think Ozzy has a better understanding of the game than, like you said, he has in any of the previous seasons.
I'm impressed, honestly, with him this
season. I am impressed. We can go into how Coach's game really kind of fell apart there as soon as we got to the merge, and how Ozzy was able to strengthen his. I think that's 100% a valid argument. I have a whole spiel to go in about Coach that I want to save. Yeah, I think more likely we'd be looking at a Suri versus Rizzo, who's going to cut who first at the end, because the storyline, it also makes sense too. Rizzo was not able to get rid of Savannah when he needed to. Savannah went on to win. And then on the opposite side of that, we have Suri, who we saw an Australian Survivor with Suri and Parvati, and then we also saw that again when Suri and Parvati played together before too. Of that, Suri needed to be able to take out Parvati. She couldn't. Parvati wins. I think that she very well could be looking at that when we get down towards the end if she has Rizzo, saying, I know I can beat Ozzy. Rizzo is the biggest obstacle that is in my way to win this. I feel like Suri is here to win this game. And another point too, I think there are some people that are really enjoying being in this season and that have kind of accepted their place. I think that's potentially where Coach kind of rolled in here at the end, where he started to maybe accept his fate in the game. I think Suri really wants to win this game. I think it would cap off her legacy. And I think that a situation like that is going to be the difference between us saying, is Suri the GOAT? Is Suri Mount Rushmore? Or are we saying, is Suri just always the bridesmaid, never the bride? I think it's going to come down to that. Daryl, Coach was not going to win as of next week. Before that, I think that anybody, could have rightfully argued Coach was going to win. I know I was, because I'm an insane person. I think that's going to be, in my opinion, the storyline that this game comes down to. If we don't have any more twists that potentially break up Rizzo and Suri, because I don't think that they have any motivation to need to break each other up until we get into that end game, because you can say Suri is running the game, which I think she is, but she's only able to do that because of how good Rizzo has been socially. Obviously, Suri's fantastic socially. Nobody's debating that, but I'm saying Rizzo has been such a key piece to her game and vice versa in this season. Something's going to have to give with them at the end. I don't think that they can both go to the very end together. And I would probably suspect that Rizzo would lose to Suri if that was the situation, but I don't think that is a risk that Suri is willing to take.
Yeah, if they did get to the final three, Ozzy, Suri, and Rizzo, all she has to say is like, look, when I left these guys alone, they were about to make a huge mistake. And the only reason they did it is because I came back from Exile Island. Like, I was the brains here. You got to give me the $1 million,
Yeah. And I've had this argument, if you will, with other people that I've talked about Survivor this week. Is Suri winning like a lifetime achievement award, a pity win? I can understand how maybe on the face of it you could say that. You cannot say that watching what she has done in this season, in this game. I think you can say, should Suri have been on this season to begin with? I think she absolutely should have been. I think you can see what Survivor has wanted to make this season a celebration of what makes Survivor great. I don't think we had to have half people from New Era, half old school players that played once. Like, I am very, very happy Suri is here. I'm very happy Coach is here. I'm very happy Ozzy's here. I'm very happy Steph's here. I'm very happy a lot of these old players that we have seen play multiple times are here, because I think it's made a fantastic season.
If you're not going to get Rob or Sandra or Parv or Tony, like, you have to have Ozzy, Coach, and Suri. Like, it wouldn't be Survivor 50, or Survivor wouldn't have gotten to season 50 without these types of characters,
And it's also, Suri's story is not complete. Suri's story could not have ended for US Survivor in Game Changers. If that was the case, that is as bad of an ending for as good as a player that you can have in Survivor. Other than like a Medivac, I think in terms of being idled out and you being the only choice for somebody to vote out, that is not the way that a player like Suri should go out. So I am very happy she's here. There's a lot of people I would love to win this season at this point. Suri is the top of the list by far, and I think she's most deserving too. I had this conversation with my wife. Shout out Rachel, if she's watching right now. Who we were talking about, who do we think deserves to win versus who do we think will win? I think we both agreed Suri deserves to win. Suri will win. I know my wife's a big Rizzo fan too. RIZGOD, the Riz God. I am also. I think this podcast is a big Rizzo pod, but I think the story for Survivor to this point, 50 seasons, Suri winning. She's played. This is fifth time total.
Fifth American, sixth overall.
Her finally winning. I know I said Coach winning would be a fantastic story for Survivor. Suri winning would be what they're looking for with 50. Do I think 50 is rigged for Suri? No. I think you're stupid if you think that. I don't think the players there on that island will be doing this. I don't think production will be doing that. I think that Cirie is just playing that good of a game and taking advantage of the game that is in front of her right now.
Yeah, and like if you want to say her starting tribe was well positioned for her, Ozzy she's played with before, she's worked with before, and then everyone else I think were just one-time players, except for Jenna Lewis, but the snipes Jenna Lewis out immediately. Like there wasn't much of a threat there, but like she's still putting in this work, and I don't know how you let Cirie get this far. Like after watching her on all the seasons, I thought she was going to win Game Changers. I thought she was playing great before Advantage Geddon happened. She was running Big Brother up until her son ironically blew up both of their games in there. She won the traders. Like Cirie should be the first person out every time, but she's not because she's that good.
Yep. And I think too, we said you cannot win Survivor pre-merge anymore. It's not, you cannot do anything in the pre-merge. You need to survive to the merge. And look what has happened since Cirie has gotten to the merge. She's completely run the game. Her and Rizzo have completely run the game. Ozzy has done everything he's needed to do for his alliance to help get them to win that game. I mean, Ozzy and Rizzo Ozzy choosing Rizzo to go with him to exile kind of put them officially on this path forward to get there. Which is why Cirie is the leader. Cirie deserves the win at this point. Rizzo deserves second place. And Ozzy, there's an argument made Ozzy deserves third because of what he's been able to do at this point. Ozzy's a key piece. I don't think Ozzy maybe necessarily deserves to win over those other two. I don't think that it's even close for that. I think that there's potentially players outside of Ozzy that maybe deserve a little bit more based on what they've been able to do. But Ozzy has been the most impactful to his alliance outside of Rizzo and Cirie for what he's needed to do. And like you said, he's matured a lot. He really has. He's matured a lot. We got the Oscar, as he wanted to say. We got Coach 4.0 and Oscar, but he has impressed me. He has.
Yeah, I give him a ton of credit for, he had already decided to go one way, and then Cirie was like, I really think this is better, and he was just like, all right, you're right. You're better at this than me. I'm going to trust you. And I don't know if Ozzy from Micronesia or even South Pacific would have done that.
No, I completely agree.
Maybe Game Changers, but certainly not South Pacific.
Before we dive into some of the other kind of things to talk about in this episode, one thing I did want to quickly talk about, Tiffany. Tiffany won me back this episode. I think I was very down on Tiffany last episode. I pretty much all but said I don't know why she was chosen for the season. Her gameplay has not warranted it. She did not turn her game around to this point in this episode. To this is a winning game. Tiffany's playing amazing. She turned it around enough that I said I'm glad Tiffany's still here. I think her and Joe teaming up, if that stands, I like that a lot. I think their win in the challenge was awesome. I ruled them out the second that they couldn't get through the birdcage, which, by the way, I did the birdcage at the watch party. Very easy with one person. I can see how it's incredibly difficult with two people. One person, simple, go up the slot. You go quick. It's a mental game, and the fact that you don't have to overcomplicate it. Two people is very tough. It really is. So I know it wasn't like a challenge that people were on for hours, but it's much harder with two people than it would be with one. Cool win. Joe turned around a little bit for me too. I think this is where me and Ben would kind of begin arguing. I don't think Joe is all of a sudden on a winner's path at all either. I think seeing Joe kind of slightly break away from the Iron Sharpens Iron, the Honor and Integrity Alliance, and start to do his own thing here, get a little bit more screen time. Tiffany getting a little bit more screen time. I liked it. I like that we're starting to spread around the stories a little bit more. We spent a lot of time, obviously, with Cirie and Rizzo at this point. We spent a lot of time with Christian to this point. It's nice to start seeing more of the players like Tiffany and Joe. I like what they brought to the table this episode.
Yeah, I thought, Tiffany's in a good spot in terms of she had no connections left, maybe Aubrey, but she's somebody who's smart and a good player and someone you want to scoop up. And both Joe and Ozzy have put that out. Which way will she go? Still remains to be seen. Joe is someone I can see Cirie being we should bring him in now that his like main guy's gone, because Joe's a very loyal person. I know Daryl says that Joe voted for coach, even though he said he wouldn't. So apparently, in exit interviews, someone said that Joe only wrote Chrissy's name down initially, and then Jeff made him go back and write coach's name. So he tried to get out of it, but he wasn't able to.
He may have gone back against his word, even if he was forced to by production. He made the right move. Jonathan, on the other hand, I don't know if Jonathan didn't see the writing on the wall or if Jonathan was trying to make a potential get some votes for the jurors if he thought he was there in the end game by not voting for coach. I don't know if that was the case or not. I guess we'll find out next week during confessionals. So I think Jonathan has been playing a much better game than he's getting credit for. I don't think he's necessarily playing a winner's arc, but like I said, I think outside of Suri, Ozzy, Rizzo, somebody I can see winning this season as a realistic situation, maybe not the favorite, is Jonathan, based on who can be there in the jury and how the rest of the game plays out. Not really a spoiler. Apparently, this cast is not friendly with each other after this season. And it seems like coach of all people is somewhere in the middle, or his coach is like somehow one of the more liked players that came out. I saw a video of at the concert what Coach does with Ben that Tiffany came out and sang on stage with them, which I thought cool. was cool. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for the end. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that's a spoiler. That could all be nonsense. But that's just what I heard.
I think with any of these all-star seasons, you just have to expect that you're going to burn like all these bridges with people if you vote them off. Like everyone was to some degree, some to a very heavy degree, the star of their original season, and everyone wants to be the star of this all-star season, but you can't be, and only a few people are going to be that, and that's going to bruise some egos, you know?
Yep, sure. The game is going, and especially Rizzo, Suri, Ozzy, if they don't all take each other to the end, it's going to get nasty, especially with a lot of the old school players. They're not so cool with, yeah, that's just the game. Like these people are coming out for their third, fourth, fifth time to play this. They want to win. Players that have never won before. I think that this means a lot to them. I'm not saying it doesn't mean a lot to the players like Rizzo, like Emily, like Tiffany. I think it means a lot to them, but I think it means a lot more to the players that this has been like their entire life. Their entire life is Survivor because the Survivor gave them the life that they currently have. So
yeah. Or even like Chrissy, who like you thought, oh, she's a slam dunk to come back, and then she had to wait years to come back. You know, and
not only that, like she was screwed over in her last season, felt like she was potentially robbed of a win, which a lot of people, including Brian, would agree with, that she was robbed of a win. I think I probably am at that point too. I
know there are a lot of Devin people out there. I don't know. I thought Chrissy should have won, but you know, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. Ben ended up winning, so
does not matter. And then he got made to look like a fool in Winners at War, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wonder if production in that moment regretted any decisions they made on heroes, healers, and hustlers.
Do we think it has any, the reason this season's been so great, and like I think that this is far and away been the best season since David versus Goliath, which is not saying a lot, but I think this is arguably the best season we've had since Calrung. Like I think there's a top B that this is like this more than David versus Goliath for different reasons. It's up for debate in my opinion.
I think it's a really great season. And I've seen people being like, oh, this boot order is so bad. It's like, would there have been a good boot order? Like, you like all these people, you're going to be upset. Yep. Well, you just got to like accept. And it can't get worse. Like, I like Winners at War. I think I probably like Winners at War more than a lot of people in the like super fan community. But like all the old schoolers going out immediately on Winners at War was horrible. And we're not getting that here, you know?
I like Winners at War. The boot in Winners at War is terrible.
I like Winners at War because Tony won. Let's be honest.
I do too. I feel like I'm a little bit higher in Winners at War than a lot of other people are. The boot order in Winners at War is tough. I think it's especially tough when you have Natalie go out first and then be there to take. I think did she take? Was she second? Right? Didn't she got a vote? She got a vote, right?
She got Tyson and Jeremy.
Yeah,
for sure. She maybe got like 4. It was like 11-4 or something ridiculous because that jury was the entire cast minus Sandra.
And I think too, it is Edge of Extinction relevant to Devon's too. Bad winner there potentially because of those reasons also. So
I would have preferred Devon's winning. Like I didn't love that Devon's came back in and won, but then when Chris came back in and won, it's like, okay, well, I really would have preferred that Devon's won. My personal preference, though, the person I think who played the best and got the most screwed from Edge of Extinction was Victoria. I think without the Edge of Extinction happening and everybody like coming out and being like Victoria's playing like the best game, she probably gets to the end and wins. So I think it was unfair for that, you know.
So it was Jeremy Parv, Boston Rob, and Tyson who voted for Natalie.
Did Rob? Because I thought Rob voted for Tony because he did that speech like you almost did the perfect game, but you didn't get this guy out, and then he like opened his vote for Tony.
No, I think it was Boston Rob. Where's Daryl? Daryl, get on the.
Daryl, can you fact
Daryl,
check
get in the
this?
chat. You're.
Who are the 4 votes?
Who was the 4th?
Yeah, Rob voted for Tony. Daryl says. I remember the confessional because he like played it up a bunch.
It was. This is our tangent for the episode. It was Parvati, Tyson, Jeremy. Who was the 4th? Because it was a 12. It was a. Was it 12-4? 12 was it 16?
Yeah, it was like 12-4 or something like that.
Who voted for Natalie in Winners at War? The Survivor Wiki.
All right, pulling up the Survivor Wiki.
Bad radio.
Bad radio. This is not great.
Brian Wong has shut the podcast off. Ethan, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes, Ben. Ben has fought through the humidity. He's fought through the heat. He crawled over to his phone. You probably heard this on in the background when the poor guy is just like with a pack of ice on his head. It was Ethan. Thank you very much, Ben. Shout out, Ben.
I gotta help these idiots out.
This is what we're missing without our host, without the guy that keeps us on track.
Exactly.
So,
I forgot about Ethan as well. So
Boston Rob, Ethan, they're all pals. Tyson. I completely lost where we were once again. Now that I know that Dad's home with Ben here watching us, I feel more nervous than I did at the very beginning of this, hosting my first podcast in a very long time. Shout out, Ben.
We were talking about how this has been a decent boot order, especially compared to Winners at War, our last All-Star season, and that season 50, in our opinion, has been a very good season. Best since David versus Goliath.
And that does remind me, if you like talking nonsense and you like hearing me and Brian's voice for whatever reason, we have another podcast that we do, just Brian and I, called, we're on the 3rd or 4th or 5th name now. We are currently called Wicked Good Show. We have not done an episode in over a year, I believe, right? I think we actually did it. I think it's been over a year.
It's been a while.
I think it was potentially maybe last June. I think it was before. I think it might have been 2 years ago. I don't know. Brian and I have always wanted to do another podcast there. Daryl, if you like anything outside of Survivor, Brian and I probably talk about it on that show. I think we should maybe start doing this more often. Let's bring it. Maybe that could be our summer show. Got nothing else going on outside of probably House of the Dragon, which we have another podcast for. Shout out, Brian, if you want to plug that.
Yes, Pack of Mics and Fire, where we cover all the Knights of the Seven Kingdom, House of the Dragon, any kind of other Westeros show is there. You can find it on the Better Radio channel.
I'm going to get us back on track now because whenever I record this podcast, I think about what is Brian Wong's thought as he's listening to this. Brian Wong, longtime fan. Brian Wong listened to, I think Brian was our first actual listener on when it was Brian and Dylan Take on the World.
Almost certainly he was.
So Brian Wong, kind of a legend of the Better Radio, Wicked Good Everything kind of family. Let's get back on track here. Let's get back to Survivor. Sorry about the tangents. We've talked Cirie. We've talked Aubrey Devins. I guess real quick on Devins' idol play, if you want to get to that too. I would love to talk about the idol. I am not a big Devins guy. I sometimes find him annoying. I think Edge of Extinction is not a good season. I think he was fine in that season. The one thing I can always appreciate about Devins is that he likes to make good TV. I think he enjoys it. He's somebody whose professional job involves TV. So he knows what the people want sometimes. And I think I said earlier in the season, I very much appreciate the enthusiasm of having fun in Survivor that Devins and Christian were having at the very beginning when they planted that idol. Was not sure how it was going to play out. I think not only did Devins play it as perfectly as he probably could have in this scenario, I think it was super entertaining. This whole episode, top to bottom, I found very entertaining and intriguing to watch, which is why I think this season's been so great, even with a twist that we don't like. I think Devins, I have to give him his props. I think it was well played, well done, well executed. I think it was funny to watch. Just everything about it that it created after was fantastic. I might sort of be a Devins guy now. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like Rick Devins a lot, and I do think this was probably the right spot to pull this out. I don't know 100% if the votes were going to all come down on Rick and Aubrey. I don't know if he saved himself, but he certainly put the nail in the coffin for Coach and Chrissy.
Yeah. So when we get on to more about Chrissy and Coach at the end here, which I feel like is a good way to end this episode, kind of talking about them. I'm not 100% sure. My brother kind of immediately swayed me off of this idea that it was the idol that saved Devins and Aubrey, and that that was the only reason Coach and Chrissy went home. The thing that sticks out to me the most of why it was probably Coach and Chrissy from the very beginning of Tribal was when Ozzy told Devins he should play that. I do not think Ozzy would do that if he knew for a fact he was voting for Devins and Aubrey at that point. Yeah. And maybe Ozzy changed his mind after that. I don't know, but I agree. I think that, and we saw with Cirie too, we would have gotten potentially more time with Cirie and Rizzo discussing not going for Coach and Christian, going for Aubrey and Devins instead.
I think, I don't know if it necessarily saved them, but I do think it was a great moment. I'm glad that it happened. It paid off really well, and it's not done paying off. Rick didn't play it because it wasn't a real idol, but now everybody thinks he has an idol, and we'll have to see where this goes. Dylan, do you think that Jimmy Fallon is a name that Rick throws out as who was the celebrity behind the twist, and Jimmy Fallon is not actually involved with this season?
This was not something I thought about until you just brought that up. So that is very interesting. That is very, very interesting. You also just reminded me we still have the Mr. Beast thing to go through. So that's that's something.
Still got Mr. Beast, which, I like Beast games. I'm open to Mr. Beast showing up here. He's been very complimentary about Survivor and his experience and everything. So I'm open for it. And I think I know what the twist is going to be for Mr. Beast. On Beast games, there's a game mechanic with a coin flip. So if the player who has this coin gets to I think it's like the final 10, maybe final 5. They can flip a coin, and if it lands on whatever they call, then it doubles the prize money. In the first season, it happened. The prize went from $5 million to $10 million. So I could see Survivor for season 50, much like season 40, upping the prize to $2 million on a coin flip.
Yeah, and I think that's something we talked about too when we started talking about, I think when the first trailer came out for Survivor, or maybe when we did our draft, I don't remember. I think one of us brought that up, potentially, that it was increasing the pot to 2 million. The thing about the Jimmy Fallon thing, which I never considered until you just said that, is Jimmy Fallon obviously does not work for CBS. Jimmy Fallon works for NBC.
He does not.
He has worked for
Should
NBC
have been,
for a very long
I don't
time.
know. Stephen Colbert's getting fired, right? So it couldn't be him.
I guess I just don't know what the connection would be to Jimmy Fallon being on this. Very interesting. Potentially. I think that the idol thing is eventually going to be Devin's downfall. I don't think that this is going to once again turn into his winner's arc in the game. Could be wrong. I've been very wrong before in my life. Survivor has switched up the edit around this time in seasons before also, so it's not completely outside the realm. Maybe. That's very interesting. You've given me, so according to Daryl,
It's a theory. I don't know if it will be what happens.
I want to take a second to shout out Daryl, who has been with us for pretty much every episode, I think, since episode 8. I don't remember if Daryl was here for the premiere. I think Daryl has been here every episode since episode 2 that we started recording for this season. Daryl's very active in the chat. I love it. I appreciate it. Daryl has also kind of been a third member of this podcast this episode, because Ben has watched us two bumblebutts just fumble around this episode to this point. Probably because I'm hosting, because I begged Brian to let me host before we started doing this, because I used to host.
You're doing great.
The Wicked Good Show. So to double back quickly to some of Daryl's notes, that even if Suri wasn't there, the fake autoplay would have saved Aubrey and Devins. I agree. I think, to your point, Suri drove the vote towards Coach and Chrissy. Clearly, we saw Rizzo and Ozzy agreed that the right move that Suri wanted would be to go for Aubrey and Devins, which is very funny that they were both very wrong. It kind of made sense to me, I guess. But also, once again, that is why Suri is the quality player she is, and I am sitting here fumbling around words saying I'm a lot on a podcast. I think I think that is also another indicator that maybe it was Coach and Chrissy all along, which is I'll get into Coach and why I'm very happy with the way it ended for him, even if it wasn't winning. Anyway, Jimmy Fallon is the one who came up with the idea to have that box that trial with the Boston Rob and Sandra were hiding in the island. Okay, so Jimmy Fallon apparently does have a big love for Survivor, very involved. That is cool. Jimmy Fallon's cool. Vacations in a same town my family vacations in, which is, I've never met him. I've had family members meet him. Jimmy Fallon, obviously, Jimmy Fallon's cool. I like Jimmy Fallon.
What was the movie he was in where the Red Sox won the World Series? Fever Pitch.
Yes.
Yeah, great movie.
Yes, I'm mixing up Fever Pitch and Summer Catch with Jessica Biel and Freddie Prinze Jr. Summer Catch is with Jessica Biel and Freddie Prinze Jr. Fever Pitch is with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore. Great movie, especially if you're really from New England, Boston area. Yeah. Very fun movie. Jimmy Fallon, lifelong Red Sox fan, or lifelong Yankees fan, playing a.
And he played a diehard Red Sox fan. Very fun. He did it great. You wouldn't have known.
Once again, Brian Wong is currently just Brian Wong. If you're still listening, once again, best listener outside of Daryl. I can't. You're both great. Daryl's now part of the podcast. We gotta move on. Daryl, Brian Wong, you can duke it out in the comments. Brian Wong's gotta get on the comments. Let's move on. Devins, back to Devins. Move back. Now I'm really losing it. Back to Devins.
I think you're saying you think that Devin's time is coming potentially to an end, even despite this play.
Yeah, I do. I think Aubrey probably gets out before him. I don't know though. Like I said, this is why the next 2-3 episodes are so pivotal to where the rest of the game is going to go, is of which way, because I think Suri can more easily manipulate and play the Joes, the Jonathans, the Stephs. Because I think Steph actually
agreed.
Steph has become a swing vote, probably along with Tiffany, in the side that I think Steph and Suri have a relationship. They played together before. I think that Steph and
as Coach pointed out in his exit interview, Cirie has backstabbed her like 5 times, but she still believes in Cirie.
I think the logical next piece to get out is probably Jonathan from that side, right? I think that makes the most sense to me. And then the most logical next piece to get out from the other side, I think, is maybe Aubrey, because they want to flush that fake idol, or it's somebody like Emily or Christian. But I think after that, I think is when the Aubrey and the Devons begin to fall. That's like just my educated guess, where I think it's going to go. I think that depending on which side Cirie chooses, if she goes to the Devons and Aubrey and Christian side, I think that she probably tries to flush out that idol first and probably gets somebody like Christian or Emily. I want Christian to stay in this game as long as possible. I think Christian has been the other fantastic TV this season. Christian's very lovable. I think Christian's one of the more beloved characters on this season now, outside of Cirie. I want him to stay in the game as long as possible. I think that he's probably the next largest threat that is outside of Cirie's and Rizzo's and Ozzy's alliance that they need to get rid of.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you take Jonathan out and Joe and Steph probably come over to Cirie's side. Joe just probably doesn't have any other option. Steph really seems to want to play with Cirie, even if Cirie doesn't necessarily seem to want to play with Steph, at least not enough to like bring her into her main alliance. So I think that will be very interesting to see where it goes between the Nerds and Cirie's alliance. But I am fully saying this as a very biased towards Cirie person. I think that coalition wins out,
Yep. And I think that's why the rest of the season is so intriguing. Even if you have somebody that appears to so obviously be driving the game at this point, is because it's so not obvious to the players. Whereas other times it's obvious to the players and they just don't do anything about it. And I think that makes for a boring ending. I think Cirie and Rizzo are playing such a low-key game to what everybody else that is left in the game is looking at right now. That's why it's impressive, because they're going to get that. As long as assuming this all plays out in their favor, which I really do think it's going to, or else, like Ben said, I don't know what the edit's doing. I think watching them pick people off one by one and the players slowly start to put it together and realize, oh, we messed up. I think that makes for a very interesting thing, like viewing experience for Survivor.
Yeah, because last episode, it was only Tiffany and Dee outside of the giant coalition. So Coach's team was like, oh, we're running the vote. Same as probably Christian and Devon's being like, well, we kind of had control of this. And Cirie, I think we've whittled it down to now the Nerds and Cirie's faction working together, but both of them, because you're the hero in your own story, they both probably think they're running the game, but whoever's running the game is going to be whoever scoops up the remaining pieces and forges a path to the end.
And I bring up too of, I don't know what the edit's doing if Cirie or Rizzo are not the winners. The one credit I definitely want to give production is I think the storytelling this season has been really good. I think the like what we got with Christian and Emily and how it was initially brought up of Christian and Gabby, I think that's interesting. I feel like that relationship has died down a little bit to compare it to Christian and Gabby. I think that was really interesting. I think everything obviously with Rizzo and Cirie, the storyline building up, everything with Ozzy and Coach, Ozzy playing well. I think Coach at first kind of like seeming like he's really kind of learned from his past of things that players don't like and kind of moving on from that. Obviously, as we'll get into, that maybe wasn't fully the case. Chrissy kind of getting a little bit of self-realization and kind of turning, then voting out Camilla, kind of turning her game on a little bit more. There's a lot storytelling that goes on in this season that I've really, really enjoyed. Aubrey's been a little bit of a miserable story to watch unfold. I hope she doesn't go out in a bad way. I think Aubrey to this point is probably the most disappointing player that's left in this game from what I expected from them, which is a bummer to say. But I think that if Aubrey can have a satisfactory ending to her story, even if I don't think it's going to be winning, I think that'll be great. I'd still, even getting into when her having the idol, if Aubrey had an idol, nothing would have been an issue. I think that was a mistake of Devon's. That was a mistake of Christian. That was a mistake of Aubrey. Obviously, they didn't plan for a situation like this to happen. But this is why, like we said last week, you have an idol. Hold on to the idol. We've seen it be successful before. I understand the debate that it was better for her game just to get rid of it because she could not win holding on to the idol. Sure would have been useful, and you could have played a lot more effectively, and the vote could have changed a lot more had you had that idol that was still there, because it would have been incredibly obvious you were going to play it at that point. Aubrey, I just hope we get more from her before the season ends. It just feels like that her story has probably concluded, which if we're getting into saying that the storytelling's been really great in this season, I think then Aubrey's story would be really bad, really depressing to what we've gotten from her this season.
Yeah, and I'm somebody who really liked Aubrey. I was pretty ride or die for her on her first season. But, I was talking about this with Jenny. Like, it has been kind of diminishing returns with Aubrey each time she's come back. Despite making it very far in Game Changer, she was never in the driver's seat at all. She was just kind of, I think outside of voting off Debbie again, which is like one move she did, she just didn't have anything. She got completely owned on Edge of Extinction. And now I guess she's playing a little better, but like I don't know. I don't know if she's fully over how bad Edge of Extinction went, and it's kind of like bleeding into this season. And she also was a last second addition because Amanda Kimmel dropped out. That's the rumor anyway. So maybe she didn't have enough time to get her head right for this game.
Yeah, because I think mentally, like physically, we've talked about before, it's significantly less important now than the mental preparation you need and the mental capability you need to be able to play this game.
If I ever go on a reality show, the first thing I'm doing when I get home is booking a therapy appointment to work through whatever has happened on there.
I think I saw that they pay for all of them to have therapy. Like I think they need to get
good. Yeah.
They get I think they get, from what I saw, I forget where I read it, it might have been like at a Q&A or somebody, maybe on Tyson's Pods, it was something like this where I think they get therapy to kind of like reincorporate themselves, at least back in like the heyday of Survivor. They get therapy to reincorporate themselves back into society. I think they get like food therapy, like they teach them how to like eat properly again, stuff like that. Obviously maybe more people need it than others, but I think that they get stuff like that. I don't know if it's still the same case because the game's obviously less intense than it used to be. But yeah, I feel like I've been really hard on Aubrey this season, and I think a lot of people, probably rightfully so, have been hard on Aubrey, but it's because I think we expected more. And I don't think that it's like fair to say, oh, Aubrey should have been better because of the person she replaced, Amanda, which we think Amanda probably would have brought a lot. But then again, Amanda probably would have been here if she wanted to be here. It seems like maybe her heart wasn't fully in it, which I respect. I think she has like kids now, stuff like that, right? So and Aubrey has kids too. Being a parent changes things, especially being a mother. And, it changes your body a lot of ways, changes you emotionally, like your priorities change. I think it's a lot of that is tough. I think Aubrey was depressing TV to watch up until this point. I really do. I think that she was not fun to watch. She always looked sad. She just looked like she was miserable to be there. Brian's frozen on my screen right now in a very menacing glare. If you're watching on the stream, if he's frozen, very menacing. I'm pretty much here talking to myself at this point, which is fine because we're going to keep recording. But Aubrey has just been depressing to me to this point. So I want to see a better ending for her from here on out. I hope we get it. I don't want to see her kind of just like completely embarrassed. I want to see her at least go out. Like I'm going to say with Coach, we're going to talk about when Brian is unfrozen. I want to be able to see her go out in a better way that she kind of deserves. But Survivor is not always a fair game. You don't always get what you want out of Survivor. So hopefully that is not the case for Aubrey. I am currently here all on my lonesome because we have lost Brian to technical difficulties. Ben or Daryl, if the stream is still actually going, fantastic. Please comment because I have literally no idea if it still is or not. While we wait for Brian to get back, I do want to discuss some fun things that we have coming up for this show. One of which is especially, I have just received my email from the Dragon Slayer tribe that I'm going to pull up and read while I'm searching to see if this show is still going. Pulling up better radio. Are we still live? We are still live. Fantastic. Great. Well, we wait for Brian to somehow fight his way back. While I was sitting here talking, right before Brian cut out, I received my email, my first official email as part of the Dragon Slayer tribe, which on Monday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern time, I will be getting on a Zoom call with Coach. For sure, we'll quickly bring up what happened this week. Kind of more so just say I love to watch him play, and I am glad that he played his shot in the dark at the end. But the first email I have received as a member of the Dragon Slayer tribe goes as this. You're on the list now. Before I send you anything else, I want to be straight with you about what that means because I don't think you should have to guess. I'm not going to email you every day. I'm not going to flood your inbox with countdown timers and flash sales and subject lines designed to make you feel like you're missing out on something. You'll hear from me when I have something worth saying. That's the deal. Here's what's coming over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to tell you how the Dragon Slayer name actually started and why it's more than a survivor moment. I'm going to break down the warrior code, what it means in practice, and who it was built for. And I'm going to tell you about the nicknaming ceremony, what it is, how it works, and why people who've gone through it don't talk about it the way they talk about it with most things they bought online. So this is kind of turning into a don't have buyer's remorse email, but that's fine. Love the coach. No pressure on any of it. Read what interests you. Skip what doesn't. I'm not keeping score. Zero chance he wrote this. The only thing I'll ask right now is don't go passive. You found this list for a reason. Most people who subscribe to something open the first email, forget about it, and wonder what 6 months later why nothing in their life looks any different. You're here because something you saw made you pay attention. Hold on to that. More to come tomorrow, Dragon Slayer. And then shortly after that, it's followed up by a recommended for you, and it is a direct link to the coach shop that is on DragonSlayerCoach.com. And it is a link to shop bestsellers, and it shows the only 4 things that are for sale. So that's fantastic. So come Monday, like I said, 5:45 p.m.
I'm back. Will be recorded. My phone is a hot spot. I'm sorry about that.
It's all right, Brian. I was just filling some dead air while you were here. We're still recording. I was reading the first official email I just received shortly before you cut out from the official Dragon Slayer tribe of what to expect. It basically said that this isn't just any old newsletter you receive in your email, and then it linked me to the coach shop on DragonSlayerCoach.com. So
love that.
And I was reminding everybody, Monday, 5:45 p.m., I will be talking to Coach. It will be recorded. Unless I have to agree not to use it for anything like podcasts, we will include it on a podcast, probably towards the end of an episode, just so everybody can hear how the conversation goes. But I'm very, very excited for that.
I'm very excited for that too. Obviously, do it since you have limited time. Don't be like, welcome to, just go right into it. Ask anything you want. Should be very fun. But yeah, I think when I left abruptly, again, apologies for that. We were saying that we were disappointed with Aubrey, and yeah, we'll see how the rest of the season goes for her. But yeah, it doesn't look like she's going to win unless she somehow completely turns the Jets on from here on out.
I pretty much said I just don't want to see her go with egg on her face. I want to see her be able to go out, because assuming this is the last time we see Aubrey play, I want to see her be able to just not go out and be embarrassed. Which I feel like now that we know we're on a little bit of a technical restriction potentially with you, we can usher in to kind of just talking about Coach and Chrissy at the end here. Chrissy, I think that Chrissy did go out with egg on her face. I don't think that Chrissy looks very good after this. I know it's very easy to point to Chrissy being tied to Coach the reason she went out. I actually think a large majority of the reason Chrissy and Coach were gone is because of Chrissy. And I think that targeting Rizzo to Sari at the very end of this, when she kind of did the exact opposite of what she had told Coach to do, which was lay low and just let things unfold. I think that was the official nail in her coffin. Like Daryl said, Sari drove the vote completely to Coach and Chrissy. that was pretty much it. I think that was it, and that was probably what decided how the votes were going to go before tribal council.
Yeah, I think getting Coach out, great to break up that alliance. Getting Chrissy out, great as the strategic mind of that alliance, right?
Yep. Yeah, Chrissy, great move getting out Camilla. That was the right move. I think everything else with Chrissy this season a little tough. Once again, it's not like this embarrassing way to go out, especially when it's involved with a twist like this. I think that Coach is a very easy scapegoat to say that's why Chrissy is gone. I think Chrissy is just as equal at fault, if not slightly more so, than Coach for the reason they're both gone. I think Chrissy, obviously, it's a testament to why Cerie's playing such a good game. Everybody wants to talk to Cerie and go to her, but once she brought up Rizzo, which she really probably shouldn't have. They really should have just hung out and just drove the Devins vote, which in the end, as we saw, maybe wouldn't have mattered anyway because they were going to play that idol. But yeah, sucks. Chrissy's gone. I think the rest of this game can kind of unfold now with her no longer.
Should be very interesting. But yeah, other than that, Dylan, anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to?
Yes, Coach. Kind of just quickly, let's following up on talks about Coach. Coach is gone. I'm happy he played his shot in the dark. I'm happy that he was not embarrassed being completely blindsided in a vote. I'm glad he had the wherewithal to play his shot in the dark. I feel an honest sense of a little bit of relief now that he's gone. It's like saying like, oh, my sick dog, I miss my dog, but I'm glad that now that he's put down, I feel I don't have to worry about it anymore. That's not like, that's a bad comparison about Coach. I love watching him play. I'm very happy he made the merge. Coach, I think it very easily Coach could have gone out in a bad way and been embarrassed. And I think that would have sucked. I think him playing his shot in the dark was great. Kind of gave me a last second chance of hope of like, how crazy would it be that a successful shot in the dark play is done by Coach while we're watching season 50? That would have been cool. He seems at peace. I'm at peace. Also seemed like maybe he was kind of done with the game in some sort of way. Like I think Coach was just having fun. He kind of admitted it finally that he loves to be the center of attention when Chrissy told him to be quiet. And like, that's his whole thing. So that was nice. I think that was a little bit of Ben talking, not Coach Dragon Slayer. I will miss Coach. It's sad, but I feel relieved because I feel like the game now can move on a bit and move in a different direction. I had very high hopes heading into the merge that Coach is going to be able to play a very good game because he looked like he was playing a very good game to that point. Like Ben said last week, he had not gone to tribal yet. And I think once we saw what happens when Coach needed to go to tribal, things went south very quickly. So game-wise, sucks to lose Coach. I wish he was still here. But I do feel relieved. I feel like the game can kind of move on naturally now. I think that Jonathan, Joe, Steph can kind of move on and play their games, even if they're in a bad spot now with Coach and Chrissy gone. They can kind of move on and play their games. And I think the rest of this game will be better for it now that Coach is not there. But Coach will still be on tribal. I think, we'll get a great final tribal by Coach. I am looking forward to that. But it does very much feel like a part of Survivor history, and a part of why I love Survivor has kind of been sunsetted, which does make me a little bit sad. But I will also literally be talking to the guy in 72 hours, so that's pretty cool.
You know what? You just gotta think of it as like you got a little bonus Coach here on season 50. Like South Pacific very well could have been the end, the last season, and we got 8 more episodes of him, and then we get him on the jury. So, it was nice to have him here.
Very much. He seemed grateful and genuine when he said that he took a lot out of that experience, and like I think it helped him heal a little bit from South Pacific, which is great. Probably from Heroes versus Villains too, right? I mean, really, probably his whole entire Survivor journey. This allowed him to heal and just have fun. Clearly, he wasn't taking himself super seriously. I think that's kind of like was giving me a little bit of relief too. Not frustration, but relief that like I said, I think that he understood his time was ending and maybe he played into it a little bit more. I will miss the Dragon Slayer. I am part of the Dragon Slayer tribe now, though. I will be part of
I can't wait to see what he gives you for a nickname.
That's the other thing too. I am going to be getting a nickname. So like that, I'll have that forever. Definitely going to take advantage of my PlayStation, change the username, and change it to whatever I got from Coach. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think DJ.
Make sure you do that before you tell everyone what it is, though.
Yeah, I think
sniping it.
I think DJ Clubberlane might finally be sunsetted, and whatever I get from Coach is what I'm going to roll with for the rest of my life. So I do have that, but I'm sad to see Coach go, but I feel relieved for the game in that sense that I think that this game really is going to go into overdrive from here on out. I think maybe it was going to pass Coach on by a little bit. I think we were definitely missing out on some really great Coach moments that we could have gotten, which that part sucks, but we still have him on jury. We're still going to get absolute fire fits from him every time he comes out, which, by the way, D looked fantastic tonight. Once again, you forget that these people are a lot of these beautiful people that are, when they're not on the island, covered in dirt and look very rough, that these are real people. And it's always one of my favorite parts of these seasons to see what these people look like when they're shaved and like cleaned up. That's pretty cool. That's a very dumb thing to say in terms of like Survivor. Like, I like to see what they look like when they're clean, but yeah. I'm definitely, I was sad to see Coach go. Felt like the writing was on the wall last week. So I think I had a little bit of time to kind of, to emotionally prepare myself.
Yeah. No, it's a great run for Coach throughout all of his seasons. All-time character. Excited to hear your conversation with him or hear about it if he doesn't let you air it. But yeah, no, it's great. You know, I don't know. He's one of my favorite players ever. Just an all-time reality TV show character. Alan Cummings, you better be giving him a call for the next season of The Traitors. I need more Coach on reality TV if he's open for it.
So that is the other big thing too. I feel like there's still a chance we'll see him on other shows like The Traitors. I think The Traitors. I imagine in Traitors season, him and Russell. I think that something like that is pretty fantastic. I have my Heroes versus Villains buff on. I can't really show it because the green screen just starts going crazy with it because of how much green is in this buff. I forgot how much green was in the merge buff, but yeah, Coach Dragon Slayer. He's no longer Tidewalker because apparently he bestowed that name upon Joe. Joe is now Time Walker. Our Tidewalker. Coach is just Dragon Slayer, which is why it was not brought up at all since then. Apparently, because of a cutscene, he bestowed the name onto Joe. I love Coach. I will miss him in his Survivor life, even though he's still going to be on jury. So we'll get him there. But, very happy he was in this season. I'm very, very happy we got to see him play again. I got to see him play live. That was great. So thank you. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Survivor. Thank you, Jeff.
Yes. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
So, like I said, we have the naming ceremony next week. That's very big for me. Looking forward to that. I will be at the Survivor 50 watch party at the Wachusett Brew Yard in Worcester on Wednesday. Hope to see you there, Brian. That'll be pretty cool. I'm hoping to film some sort of content there. I'll definitely take pictures, film content. If I see like any Survivor players, I will definitely be sure to get both pictures and potentially try to get a video of them, like shutting out the pod, something like that. So rumor has it it's Johnny Fairplay and Richard Hatch. They seem to be going on a lot of these things, but I've also seen like Ethan went to one in Austin of the same people that run this. It's like kind of like a countrywide tour they're doing. So I have literally no idea who I'm going to find. If it's Boston Rob, which I don't think Boston Rob, who is a Florida resident, is going to be hanging out in Worcester on a Wednesday night.
Maybe Jeremy, maybe Michelle, someone like that.
Yeah. So I think that'll be pretty cool. Even if it is Johnny Fairplay and Richard Hatch, that would be incredible.
Yeah, very cool.
So I'm very much looking forward to that. But no, like I said, maybe this summer we're going to hop back on the pod for Wicked Good Show. I think that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, not maybe, definitely. We're going to do
definitely. We will find topics to discuss. A great summer lineup of movies we have coming up. I think the rest of the year, movies wise, actually looks really, really, really great. And I know we like to talk movies and TV on that show, so that's always awesome. If I see Boston Rob and Dylan Efron at a Survivor 50 watch party in Worcester, I'm going to lose my mind, as I imagine my wife will also. So, next time we have a lot to talk about. Next time we're back on the pod, Ben will be back from heat exhaustion. I will be back with a nickname and from the watch party. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. As for me, of course, check out the main channel where you get everything. Got videos going up pretty frequently on there. If somehow you're not tired of my voice after all this, although my voice is starting to go because I've been recording so much stuff, check out Those Fake Nerds. I've been doing daily videos for like a month on that channel, just talking about whatever's interesting in the video game industry happening. Wicked Good Sports, a little bit of a hiatus right now, but college football starting soon. And Dylan, we've already talked about doing a Notre Dame podcast to cover the football season. So hopefully that will go through. I'm excited for that. And then, Better Radio, where this is streaming. And we have other podcasts. Daryl mentioned From. I need to watch From. I've heard it's great. Michael from Lost is on it. Love him. So definitely need to check that out. Maybe we'll do a podcast eventually on that. But check out the History is Wicked channel as well, where I cover cryptids, urban legends, weird history stories. Just put out a video yesterday on that channel, first one in a while. So if somehow, like I said, you're not tired of hearing from me, go check out any of those, because I'm very much online all the time. So Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.